Okay, so this is why it was a good idea of mine to bring the entire workflow for creating levels from Unity, where I would place all the objects around by hand, to doing it all in Blender. So in Blender, you have the ability to make your own add-ons and extend the way that Blender behaves. So what I would previously do is duplicate with snapping on, and this would already snap this to a pretty complicated surface. So if I quickly make this one a bit more, a bit less uniform. So let me pull this up slightly to demonstrate. Okay, so also let me change, stop the timer. Okay, so if I have snapping on and I would duplicate with Shift D, this would happen. The problem is then I would have to remember which objects I duplicated. I would need to select them all and go to Object, Transform, Randomize, set up these values. Waste of time. If you just write an add-on, which is very easy to do nowadays with AI because you can actually just generate the standard library that Blender is supposed to be giving to you, but they don't, where it gives you simple things like duplicating an object and it does all this stuff for you. Well, Blender doesn't do it for you, but AI can write this standard library for you, and then you can very easily make a function like this. Let AI do the boilerplate, all this bullshit which I don't care about, and I would forget in like 2 days after writing it by hand. And instead just write this actual function which does exactly what I would do by hand automatically, and the result is I can just Control D to duplicate this thing, and everything is automatically randomized. I can change this value to set it to like 0.3, and if I now do this, some of them are going to be a bit bigger, some of them are going to be a bit smaller, and this means it's effortless to spam trees around the environment, and all of them are going to be randomized. There's no more accidentally forgetting to randomize stuff and having two trees next to each other that are identical. Now, by default, everything will be slightly randomized. And of course, I can always just change it. If I don't like how it's what the dupe gives me, I can just rotate it very quickly. Blender has very good shortcuts for this. So also a few days ago, or maybe a few weeks ago, I made a video about the cutscene thing and how the Blender Python API is like, it's a very low level API in a program that we use as high level users. Like, we care about, I have a duplicate. I want to duplicate this object. I hit the duplicate button. That's one atomic operation, but internally it's apparently a bunch of different steps. So from like, nobody seems to recommend you to just write a standard library like this. Blender doesn't provide it for you. But if you do make one of these, and you're going to have to use AI for this because there's no way in hell that you're going to figure all this stuff out by yourself by just reading the horrible documentation. Like, for example, set collection to active. In here, it's just you press the button. In Blender, it's a multi-step process, and if you mess up, then the UI is going to be desynchronized from what is happening under the hood. I have a couple of crazy functions in here, including collection. Also, some of them that are very simple, like pin modifier to last, these one-liners where I'm not going to remember what use that a modifier object has a use pin to last property. I'm not going to remember that, but as long as I have this library, I can just see, what do I want to do in the UI? What is the corresponding function that is in this little library? I can just call it, and I get very simple functions like this one, where it's very obvious what is happening here. It's basically just high-level Python code, the way Python is supposed to be written, the way it's supposed to be used. All right, that's it. Bye-bye.